Hey, this is Vance with Root Homestead. I'm out here inside of our chicken coop, and I wanted to talk a little bit about weather for your chickens. A lot of people I notice on a lot of these forums, homesteader forums and things, are asking if it is too cold for their chicken, during these winter months. And the research that I've done on chickens and kind of my experience with chickens is they are an extremely hardy animal. During winter, they do develop an undercoat of feathers that keeps them warm. And so they can handle some pretty cold temperatures. I'm in Utah, and here in Utah, I mean, it's not uncommon for it to get down to 0 degrees where I live. Normal winters, I guess. Right now, it's been about 10 degrees at night, and my birds have been just fine. We've got a lot of different breeds. We have crows all over the fields behind us all night long. Well, they perch during the night, but in the day, in the early morning, I see crows out there. That's a good indicator that if the crows are doing okay, and if you have natural birds that are doing okay, your chickens are probably just fine as well. There are some breeds of chickens that are a lot more hardy than others. Our Rhode Island Reds and your Plymouth Rocks, and some of those birds are just a more hardy bird and will do better in the winter. Some of the other ones, let me see, I wrote them down here. Okay, so some of the more hardy breeds are Rhode Island Reds, Plymouth Rocks, Buckeyes, Whale Summers, and your Allstrups. Some of those breeds are going to be a more hardy bird and are going to do just fine. Okay, so some of the things, some of the indicators that you can look for to see if your chickens are getting too cold is if they're standing on one leg, trying to keep the other leg warm up in their feathers, then they might be getting too cold. If they're tucking their head under their wing, then their wattle might be getting too cold. So that might be an indicator that they're too cold. Okay, so you can see my chicks here. They're doing just fine. They're just taking it easy and sleeping. Like I said, it's maybe 10-15 degrees outside here. They're just fine. They're still jumping around and walking around looking for water in the bottom of the coops. So they're not huddling up in the corner. Some of my smaller, younger chicks, they'll huddle up, but I think that's more because they're on the bottom of the pecking order and they really haven't earned their spot on the rack here, where all the bigger birds are always up here. Some of them like to perch near the buckets, the laying buckets, but I really don't see any signs that they're getting too cold. Okay, and so as far as some things you can do to prepare your coop, ours is a shed that we've converted into a chicken coop. It's got these 2 barn doors on it. In the summer, we leave those open just with chicken wire so that they vent. But one thing that we did in winter is we just tacked up some plastic on the inside. And now we left it kind of loose so that it could ventilate and blow in the wind. But even just having that plastic in there has increased the temperature inside the coop by, when it's all closed up at night, probably easily 15 to 20 degrees warmer in there with just the one little heat lamp that I have in there. We have a heat lamp in there that we leave on 24/7, and it helps the water not freeze. But even just having that plastic on there, on these doors, makes a pretty drastic difference. It helps out quite a bit. Now, the one thing you do have to be careful of when you do plastic like this is that you're not trapping the humidity inside there. I've been watching the humidity levels because that's not good for the chicken's respiratory system. It can cause, it probably helps with frostbite and things like that if it gets too cold. So we've been watching the humidity level to make sure it's not getting too humid in there, but we really haven't had a problem with it. And being that the plastic isn't completely sealed up on the bottom, we get a little bit of breeze, and it kind of airs it out and keeps it pretty dry in there. And so those are some of the things that we've done. But I mean, yeah, like I said, it's probably 10 degrees outside here, and most of my chickens are just fine. They sometimes will hop down and walk around and scavenge a little bit. They're not too worried about staying up and staying warm. And most of my chickens are a pretty hardy breed. We've got a lot of Rhode Island Reds and Plymouth Rocks, and some of those that are a pretty hardy breed for winter. So I guess when you're purchasing chicks or getting chickens, definitely something to consider is looking into how hardy of a breed they are if you are in a cold area. All right, here's the funnest chore every night, making sure all birds are in here. So let's see.